Do you want to lose weight? Here are the top 5 tips. And here are the top 5 tips for weight loss. We'll get started with number 5 right away, which is the foundation for the rest. But it's hardly surprising. Eat a strict low-carb diet. Now, if you're a regular reader, you probably know enough about this. So very briefly, for maximum effect on your weight, keep the carbs as low as you can enjoy long term, preferably below 20 grams a day or at least below 50. And the fewer carbs, the more efficient weight loss without hunger. Eat real Lchf food, such as meat, fish, vegetables, eggs, and butter. Try to avoid bread, pasta, and rice, and of course no candy, donuts, or soda. Also, look out for fake products, fake low-carb chocolate, pasta, and bread. That's bad for your weight. For all the details, see dietdoctor.com/LCHF. Moving on right away to tip number 4. Eat only when hungry. This is an extremely important piece of advice for optimal weight. First, you should eat to satiety, because constant hunger eats away at self-discipline, makes you tired, makes you give up. So eat good food until you're full. That provides long-lasting satiety and reduces sugar cravings. On Lchf, you can eat less and still be satisfied, and it becomes easier to skip the bad stuff, like sugar-filled coffee breaks, if you're satisfied. If instead you're constantly craving and you need to snack all the time, there's something wrong, and probably you need to eat more fat. So eat when you're hungry until you're full, but just as important if you want to become lean, don't eat if you're not hungry, because needless snacking, that will stall your weight loss. Some things you eat unnecessarily just because they're tasty and easily available. And here are 3 common traps to watch out for on Lchf. First, dairy products like cream and cheese. It works well in cooking, it satisfies. The problem is if you're munching a lot of cheese in front of the TV in the evening when you're not hungry, or lots of cream with dessert when you're already full and just keep eating because it tastes good. Now, I have my own example. I drink a lot of coffee many times a day. It's my vice, and I used to add lots of whipping cream. Here's my Swedish heavy whipping cream, and I'm not exaggerating. I could finish a cup and a half, 3 deciliters per day just in my coffee. Almost never because I was hungry, but only because it tastes good. And this is only over 1,000 calories extra per day that I did not need. So in practice, this is what I did every day. Cheers. Yeah. On an LCH diet, you can get away with exercises like this without major harm. I still kept a normal weight, but you won't be as lean as you would have been without it. When I reduced my cream drinking, I suddenly lost a number of pounds. Okay, 2 more examples of Lchf foods that many tend to overeat. First, nuts. Very easy to eat until the nuts are gone, regardless of how full you are. And a tip, according to science, salted nuts are harder to stop eating than unsalted nuts, because salted nuts tempt you to more overeating, and this can be good to know. Another tip, avoid bringing the entire bag to the couch. Preferably choose a small bowl instead, because at least I often eat all the nuts in front of me, whether I'm hungry or not. Final example is Lchf baking. Because even if you're only using almond flour and sweeteners, snacking on baked goods and cookies provides extra eating when you're not hungry, and this will slow down weight loss. So To lose weight quickly, eat when you're hungry, but only when you're hungry. On to tip number 3, which is a pleasant tip that far too many people forget these days, is sleep 8 hours. Now, everyone is busy today. Nobody has the time to sleep. I made this mistake myself, and probably everyone has. Lots of people today, they suffer from sleep deprivation. And it's viewed as normal to sleep hours less than you need. The problem is that lack of sleep doesn't just make you tired and sluggish, it also makes you fatter. So lack of sleep increases the stress hormone, cortisol, which increases abdominal fat. It makes you hungrier, makes you crave sweets, and sleep deprivation is a total disaster for self-discipline. It makes it easy to fall for any temptation that comes your way. Now the good news is you can become smarter and improve your self-discipline and lose weight just by going to bed earlier. And how much sleep makes you feel your best and get your leanest? That's when you sleep until you wake up spontaneously. And on average, this means about 8 hours per day. And the need varies between 7 and 9. But if you think that less than 7 hours is enough for you on average, then likely you don't know what you're missing out on. Personally, I feel best on slightly more than 8 hours on average. Then I can sleep until I wake up and feel fantastic. Now, to keep track of your sleep, you can try the app Sleep Cycle. I've used it almost every night now for 2 years. It's available on both iPhone and Android. You put the phone in your bed and you can get stats on how you slept. And you can also see what improves and impairs your sleep. And to me, the result is clear. The most important thing for a good night's sleep is to go to bed early. Try to sleep 8 hours. It's an investment in a better life and a leaner body. On to tip number 2. Weigh yourself regularly. And this is controversial advice, and some people may feel stressed out by the scale. Stress is bad. But if you're weighing yourself correctly, this can be a big help. The problem is that the weight can jump up and down several pounds between weigh-ins, even on the same day. Here's my weight graph for a couple of weeks. And the fluctuation here depends on the amount of fluid in the body and the amount of food in the stomach. So when you last went to the bathroom, when you last had a meal. And these fluctuations are only noise. And for someone struggling with your weight, it can be stressful to suddenly gain 5 pounds for no conceivable reason. Now, to get more benefit and less stress from weighings, you need to see past these temporary fluctuations and the noise and instead see the long-term trend. And to do that, you need plenty of weigh-ins and a simple way of displaying the results. And here I have another gadget tip. I don't profit from them, if you wonder. This is a scale that I've owned for 2 years now, and it's a wireless scale. You can find a link to it below the video, and you just get on it and it's going to send the number to your online account. And so you'll automatically see nice graphs on your phone or on your computer. Now, if you weigh yourself regularly like this, it's very easy to see the long-term trend. And why is it a good idea to weigh yourself? 2 reasons. Number 1 is great for motivation, to clearly see that what you're doing works. This will motivate you to keep going. And number 2, if what you're doing does not work, it's good to find that out as soon as possible, because then you have a chance to correct it. Personally, I thought everything was perfect. I hadn't weighed myself for 6 months until I got that scale. And I saw that I weighed quite a few pounds more than I thought. Then I changed just a few things, which made me as lean again as when I was 20. After this, I've kept the new weight with no real effort for a year and a half, and I keep weighing myself regularly. If my habits start to slip, I will quickly be warned, and I can do something about it immediately. Now, it's also good to measure your waistline. And for gadget nerds like me, it's not quite as exciting with an old-fashioned tape measure, but it tells you a great deal. Now, the recommendations are different from men and women, as you can see here. And the perfect waist circumference for men is below 37 inches, meaning 94 centimeters. And you measure between the base of your rib bone, your rib cage, and the top of your hip bone. Breathe out, relax, and you get a number like this, 84 centimeters, meaning 33 inches, which is pretty good. Now, finally, tip number 1 for a better weight is exercise. No, this is actually a joke. Exercise is not even on the list. It's extremely overrated today for maintaining your weight, unless you take off from work and exercise 10 hours a day, like in Biggest Loser, with someone yelling at you all the time. Now, exercise is good for well-being and to become strong, and perhaps to stay well, but not for weight, where the effect from more normal training doses is marginal. And this isn't really disputed scientifically anymore. A new Swedish government expert report, for example, on obesity came to this exact conclusion. If you're wondering, I only do 5 minutes of weight training a day, which is 30 minutes a week or so. I might feel better by moving more, but I would hardly be noticeably leaner. No, the real top tip, number 1 for losing excess weight, is intermittent fasting. Because what do you do if you want to become leaner and you're not getting a good enough effect, even from a strict Lchf diet? Not even if you avoid overeating and sleep great. I often get this question, especially from women over 40 who often have the most difficulty with weight. Now, what more can you do? And there is one thing that works best in that situation, in my experience. It's intermittent fasting, preferably in combination with an Lchf diet. Then fat burning will already be high and you stay full longer. So fasting episodes will be both easier and burn more fat. Great combination. But first, a quick warning. Intermittent fasting is not for everyone. If you suffered from an eating disorder or a food addiction, like sugar addiction, then fasting can be risky. It can invite a relapse. Also, don't do it if you're pregnant. And finally, try to be rested and avoid overtraining, stress, or lack of sleep first. Or the fast may be too stressful for the body. Now, if you're going to do it, there are many variants to choose from. And I'm going to mention 2 popular ones. First, the 5-2 diet, where you eat to satiety 5 days a week, and then you eat tiny amounts for 2 days, like Mondays or Thursdays. The second common version, and the one that I recommend and often use myself, is called 16-8. Now here, you will never have to count calories or weigh your food. All you do is you start by fasting for 16 days. No, not 16 days. You fast for 16 hours, and that includes sleep. Sounds quite a lot easier, right? So you only eat during the other 8 hours of the day. Now, for example, you have dinner in the evening, and then you fast until lunch the next day. And instead of breakfast, you could enjoy a cup of coffee like I do. Then you'll have fasted for 16 hours. And for many people on Lchf, including myself, this is easy to do with minimal hunger or even none at all. It also saves you time and perhaps some money. You can do this 16-hour fast a few times a week or every day. The more often, the more effective. You'll keep eating good food when you're hungry, except when you're fasting. Now, simple, time-saving, and effective for your weight. And this concludes the top 5 tips for losing weight. A strict low-carb diet, eat only when you're hungry, sleep 8 hours, weigh yourself regularly, and intermittent fasting. Back when I realized I'd gained some weight, I was only following 2 of these tips. I added the 3 others, and I easily lost 18 pounds, or 8 kilos. Here is my weight graph. I still skip breakfast on most weekdays, and that's all I need to keep the new lower weight. I hope that you too will benefit from these tips. Leave a comment about what works best for you.